we will call the meeting to order. It is 9:30. Our first item is the adoption of the agenda. Were there any changes? Did anyone wish new business, anything like that? Once, twice? We usually end up doing something at the end anyway. They move by. Oh,
You're moving, for the agenda, you're gonna move. If people are good, we're moving the
oh, yeah.
correspondence. Up.
It is early for me, sorry, late. Okay, so we are making a minor adjustment. We're gonna move up item 11. So that correspondence be moved before item 9 on the agenda, just in case we have people that need to leave. Everyone okay with that? We will have Bonita move motion, seconded by Barry. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, declaration of continuing interest, once, twice. If we find ourselves in that situation, we can deal with it accordingly. Quickly wanted to welcome our newest member. Bonita is the alternate from Penetanguishene, sorry, Councillor Deroches. Yeah, thank you. And then we also have our new addition to our staff team, our water scientist. I'm sure there's a different title, but Julie, did you want to do a quick introduction?
I sent an email out to everybody yesterday, but Bonita is here in person, and if you want to say a couple words.
I'm really glad to be here. I just joined 2 days ago. Yeah, I'm really lucky to be here. I really like what Julie and team did to make me feel comfortable and very welcome. And I think that I will be the addition for the team. And I think I'm here to serve your community. And my first step would be to try to figure out major concerns and needs of the local residents. Then I will try to look at our existing data, how we can use the data to address these concerns. And if needed, we will adjust monitoring programs and maybe incorporate some new cutting-edge technologies like remote sensing, just to monitoring and make it more efficient. And of course, to make sure that all data are available and useful for residents. And hope make the like change, positive changes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And be careful what you wish for. Also, we do have two people online as well. We have Councillor Mark Taylor from Severn, and we have alternate Councillor Raymond joining us. And I do see Mark has a comment.
Just say I'm here. Thanks.
Oh, good. Okay, we can see you.
Good.
All right, moving into item 4, which is our approval of past minutes. We have 4.1 minutes of the executive committee meeting held April 23rd, 2024. Errors or omissions. Moved by Danielle, seconded by Brian. That the SSEA Joint Municipal Service Board approves minutes of the executive committee meeting held April 23rd, 2024. All those in favor? That's carried. Item 4.2 is minutes of the executive committee held on May 10th, 2024. Be it resolved that the SSEA Joint Municipal Service Board approves the minutes to be of the executive committee meeting held on May 10th, 2024. We'll have Danielle move that again, seconded by Lori. Questions, comments? All those in favor? That is carried. Item 4.3, minutes of the 2024 first quarter meeting of the SSEA Joint Municipal Service Board held April 25th, 2024. Moved by Brian, seconded by Barry. That the SSEA Joint Municipal Service Board approves the minutes of the 2024 first quarter meeting of the SSEA Joint Municipal Service Board held April 25th, 2024. All those in favor? That is carried. Item 4.4, minutes of the SSEA held April 25th, 2024. The SSEA Joint Municipal Service Board approves minutes of the SSEA meeting held April 25th, 2024. by Barry, seconded by Roberta. All those in favor? That's carried. Item 4.5, minutes of the special board meeting of the SSEA Joint Municipal Service Board regarding budget held on June 24th. Motion reads, be it resolved, the SSEA Joint Municipal Service Board approves minutes of the special board meeting of the SSEA Joint Municipal Service Board regarding budgets held June 24th, 2024. Moved by Lori, seconded by Danielle. Questions, comments, or omissions? All those in favor? It's carried. Julie, you have an update.
In terms of the business arising for the minutes, Mr. Chair, we have, all actions have been actioned.
Sure.
And so we'll have further updates probably in October, but there's nothing outstanding at this time.
And just a reminder, everyone, we had a quorum issue at our July meeting. It's July. So this is our basically catching up on this meeting. We do have another meeting next month. We do not have a Severn Sound Source Protection Authority meeting today. We do not have any presentations, which moves us into item number 7, SSEA business. We have our SSEA second quarter activity report. Julie, any highlights?
Yes, Mr. Chair. There's a bunch of highlights, but again, we've got more highlights since then because this was a while ago. But the pieces that I'll just quickly touch on, Q2, because it ended on June 30th, really busy in terms of hiring, getting summer and seasonal staff on board. Most of those are short term, so they're sort of coming on, going off, lots of staff turnover. Really exciting time for our team because you get really great energy with new summer staff. And again, lots of external funding through Canada Summer Jobs, BioTalent, Eco Canada. So really great opportunity to bring young people on at a really minimal cost to the organization. A huge thank you to the Federation of Anglers and Hunters as well. They provide staff to us at zero cost, which is fantastic. Our water scientist limnologist left, and obviously we spent some time recruiting, and you've just met our new water scientist limnologist. It was also our tree planting season, so thank you to those of you who came out and helped with that. Some new stewardship program and blue-green algae bloom season. So we'll talk to all of those things, I think, a bit more in the reports later, and if folks have questions at that point. But I would encourage you, if you haven't had an opportunity yet, to go through that report, share it with whoever. As a reminder, at the end of these meetings, the quarterly reports go to your clerks to be shared with your council and staff and whoever else would be interested. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Julie. Any questions or comments? So I think this is just a highlight that this is that document that we use to report back to our partners what we're doing. So take a look at it, find out what's going on in Penetanguishene on that report or Oro-Medonte, and highlight those for councillors, because we know that correspondence like these can get lost in consent agendas very easily. SSEA financial reports. We have. Oh, sorry, we didn't receive it yet. Moved by Bonita, seconded by Barry. The SSEA Joint Municipal Service Board receives the second quarter 2024 report for information. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Nicole. 7B financial reports. We have staff report 22-24 SSEA. This is the Q2 draft financials.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You have before you the second quarter financials. They're trending favorably with core just about 50%, close to 50% through the year. Under projects, it's worth noting that Honey Harbor is included in the budget but not approved, as well as Victoria Harbor, and Citizen Science is in there, but we did not receive funding for it. These projects are offset by new funds and new projects, Restore the Shore and biodiversity enhancement projects that weren't budgeted, but for which we've secured external funding. So we continue to monitor the revenues and expenses in line with the 2024 budget.
Thank you for the update. Members, questions, comments? Barry.
Just one question, Judy. I can't find it. It's to do with the strategic plan. We paid X number of dollars to the consultant, but we still have. I thought there was $3,000 or something still outstanding. Pay them or something. I can't find it. I don't know why.
Yes, through the chair to member Norris. That's included under general revenue. That was deferred from last year. So we had one invoice for the strategic plan was deferred to 2024. So it came from reserve and under the general revenue and paid out under administration overhead, but it's a summary report, so you won't see that specifically in there.
So if I remember correctly, it was 28,000 for the strategic plan. Is that what we were paying?
No,
More?
no. I want to say 15,000.
Oh, is that all? So, and it's still on hold. Strategic plan.
Well, we haven't approved it yet, so we've got, Julie, give an update on our strat plan.
I can speak to that
It's 10.
through the chair. So
10,000 plus HST.
So, the update on that is, I was directed to hold. Because we've had a lot of other things going on, so we have it. We've paid out the consultant, her part is finished. We're holding, and when Lex and I have time, we'll take it and finish it and put it in the format as the other one. So we can move forward with the update.
Okay, so she's gotten the reports.
Correct.
It's just a matter of.
Correct.
And this was just prioritization and staff time.
May I add, Mr. Chair?
Certainly.
That's how we keep that cost down. We use staff cost. Right, so we use staff time as a cost instead of going over the 10,000. We use the consultant until they were done and then we will finish it.
Okay.
Here.
No other questions on the draft financials? We have recommendation staff report number 2224 SSEA regarding the 2024 second quarter draft financials be received as information. Moved by Roberta, seconded by Brian. All those in favor? That is carried. As I saw Mark put his card up there, I was reminded we do have another guest in the audience, and my apologies. We have the deputy mayor of Severn Township joining us as well, Judith Cox. Thank you for being here today. Staff report 2324. This is the SSEA audit status. Judy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So it was expected that the audit would be completed by the end of August, so I would suggest we're very close. I haven't heard anything from the township, but that was the direction they had advised it would be ready by the end of August, so I would suggest it's any minute.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, moved by Danielle, seconded by Mark. All those in favor? We're just receiving that as information. Carried. 7.3, staff report 2424, appointment of auditor update. Judy.
Mr. Chair, so we've had the Capital and Associates Professional Corporation do the audit for the past number of years since the Township of Tay, and they will do the audit this year as well, since Tay will be using them as well. So although we are a little bit over on, we'll be a little bit over on the cost, they have held the cost fairly stable over the number of years we've used them. So I think it's a fair cost, and although we are over budget on that, we're under budget on insurance by $1,100. So I think it'll all work out just fine.
Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, moved by Bonita, seconded by Roberta. The staff report 2424, the 2004 appointment of auditor update be received as information. So further that, the SSEA appoints Happel and Associates Professional Corporation to perform the 2024 annual financial audit of the SSEA. The same audit firm used by the SSEA's 2024 Treasurer Municipality Township Day. All those in favor? That's carried. SSEA Reserves Update. Judy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The board will recall at the last meeting, we discussed the drinking water source protection reserve monies that were in the contingency reserve. And the board suggested that those be pulled and a new reserve created. So this report is just bringing that back to you for the board to decide if they would like to go ahead with that.
Okay. I will open it for discussion. Questions or comments? So I'll read the recommendation. Staff report number 2524 SSEA regarding SSEA reserves be received for information. And further that the board approves the update to the SSEA reserve policy to separate out the reserve account for municipal drinking water source protection funds. And be it resolved that the board approves the revision to the reserve totals for 2024 and 2025, approved June 24th, 2024 to reflect the separate municipal DWSP reserve account. Everyone on board? Okay. Moved by Barry, seconded by Mark. All those in favor? That is carried. Staff report 2624. This is our 2025 Inland Lakes. Julie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is just another update. I think we discussed at the last meeting. We are shifting the way that we do inland lake monitoring for a number of reasons. 5 of the 8 of you as partners will be impacted. There will be we're using the 20th anniversary report outcome, which will, now that we have somebody new on board to help us finish that report, we will be looking at streamlining and trying to smooth out the cost for municipalities. You might know if you have an inland lake that we do those currently on a 5-year rotation. And we're going to shift to more of the Midland approach, which is an annual, so that you have more data, more information, and we know that we're seeing more and more problems with our inland lakes. So we think we should be monitoring them more closely. So for those of you it impacts, we have started communicating with your staff. So you'll see those changes. It should just smooth out the cost somewhat, but we'll talk to you individually as well, just so there's not confusion with other people's inland lakes.
Questions or comments? Seeing none. Moved by Lori, seconded by Roberta. The staff report number 2624 SSEA regarding 2025 inland lakes be received for information. All those in favor? That's carried. 7.6 2724 SSEA. This is the Treasury / Human Resources Services extension. And I'll turn this over to Julie for updates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Judy, did you want to speak to, or do you want me to? Okay, thank you. Thank you to Tay for extending the deadline to the end of the year. Certainly makes it a lot smoother to transition. So the update is that although we want a quick reminder that we did not budget for this in the 2025 budget, and we don't know what transition costs are going to look like. We have met with Springwater Township. So Springwater has started working with us in terms of what they would need, what their staff would like to, obviously lots of questions about what we look like as an entity, what it would look like to bring us into the fold. And I believe then they'll have to take it to their council to get approval to have us transition to them if that's the direction that ends up happening. Thank you to Severn as well for agreeing to be the backup plan if all else fails. So we don't know some of the costs within that transition as well. And we've also got a meeting set up. You may remember some of the correspondence that Tay wanted a commitment to have those conversations sooner than later. with their staff, and so we're having our first meeting with Tay's staff, I believe, the 17th of September. And so to help us keep moving forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And my thank you to yourself and staff for the efforts to get this going. We've reached out to the county, we've reached out to other CAs, we've reached out to all our member municipalities. It's a big undertaking, so kudos.
Thank you.
Moved by Brian, seconded by Danielle, that staff report number 2724 SSEA regarding treasury/HR services extension be received for information. All those in favor? That's carried. 7.7 staff report 2824 notice of SSEA core budget short payments. You want to get the ball rolling with us, Julie?
Sure, I can. You're good with that, Judy? Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the report is just to bring to everybody's attention. The Township of Tay indicated that in a letter to us that they would not in 2024 be paying the full approved budget, but pay what they had approved internally for their own budget increase, which is a shortfall to the SSEA of $8,679. We have sent some correspondence back and forth, just inquiring to make sure that we understand that it's a short pay, not a delay in payment or not a request to use reserves. So it is, in fact, it has been confirmed that there is an intent to not pay that other. And so we are making sure the board understands that, and then that would go in as a deficit to the SSEA budget in terms of payment. And we are looking for some direction in terms of next steps, but we also are not at year end. So, the opportunity is there for that to change as well. Judy, I don't know if you have anything to add. No? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'll open the floor up for questions and comments. Barry, Brian?
I'm just wondering, was an explanation given for the short payment? Was it for services not received that they had expected, or what was the cause for the short payment?
Through the chair. So the letter that was provided, council provided direction to limit the increase in operational core municipal funding paid to the % increase that council has approved for their own operations.
Thank you. Danielle?
Like Julie, have we been in this situation before where a municipality has just decided to short pay? And
Through the chair, thank you. I understand we have in the distant past, before I was here. And then they ended up, I believe, paying. They followed through with payment, or I believe with full payment by that fiscal year.
This is before my time.
So before mine as well. So it is new to us in this, in my 7-year period.
well, do we have any recommendations of what next steps are? Coming from my assumption is if they continue to, if they decide to move forward with the short pay, then that then falls on the municipalities. And the next question I'm gonna have to answer at my table of why this happens and what our plan is to report.
Thank you, through the chair. I don't at this time. I have been talking to CAOs because this is new territory for me. And so that's certainly something, we were looking, I hear for direction if there was any, but certainly something we could, we've only got a month, we could bring back possibly some options for the October meeting. You could, so you could direct us to bring options back in October, maybe?
Personally, I would like to see the options that we have in front of us so we can make a decision on what forward with this.
Thank you for that. Any other comments to that? Mark?
I have a question through the chair. So is the option of using their reserves there, or because that's how Midland solved their problem last year, correct?
So, Mark, we did reach out to them and let them know that the reserve money is available for them to basically cover the shortfall. We did not receive a response,
No,
or there was
we
no.
received confirmation
That-
that they did not want to do that.
Okay, so they have confirmed that they do not want to use their reserves to cover the shortfall. I saw your hand, Barry.
Yeah, no problem. So just to go on to this, the shortfall, as you may want to call it, there's no question, the municipality has held back the short payment that becomes in your, arrears. And it's just a carry as far as I'm concerned. That's my position. That's not council's position, but that's my position. It's been very clear since December of 2021. Be very mindful of trying to stay within the council's overall budget. So this isn't new. Council finally took the stand of that's all you're gonna get this year. It'll be a carryover the following year, and that's the way we have looked at it at this point in time. There's nothing within the letter of agreement, when you want to apply penalties. You do have the reserves as backup. Once those, you exhaust those reserves, then there's no question you could probably apply at that point. But that's how I see it. Like I say, it's, we received the letter and, again, it just goes back to the executive committee, making the determination. So I take it that was through the budget process in which the recommendation that we actually got from the executive committee must have come through. Because other than that, I'm not sure if governance being behind the executive committee other than the budget. That's my thing on there. That's how I see it at this point.
Okay, thank you for those comments, Barry. Julie?
Thank you through the chair. If I could just clarify, to the TAY member, the executive committee didn't provide direction. That was a letter that was sent just requesting clarity so that staff at SSEA were clear budget wise on whether or not it was actually a short payment. And then what we received back were certainly some questions that made it clear that there needed to be more clarity around, just so the entire board knows, our treasurer municipality is how we set a term of payment. Right, so whoever is our treasurer municipality, we use their term of payment. So if your term is net 30, that's what we use, because you're the municipality being the treasurer is the one collecting the money. So the SSEA does not have its own separate term payment. That
Follow up?
Yeah, just to further on that, there's nothing within the governance that I've seen, whether it's the letter of agreement or anything else to represent that part of it that you're doing. According to the treasury, in this case, Township, so that's where you need to have clarity on governance.
Sorry, I don't understand
So what you're saying is you're falling back onto the governance that Township utilizes to turn around for payment. So it's not paid in 30 days if you're applying penalties, correct?
if it would be the same as Tay Township's.
No, it's all I'm saying is where is it written? Within what policy? There isn't one there, so I guess that's where.
Understood. So Danielle, you're asking for a report back for our next meeting, which is October 26th.
I believe so.
With I guess recommendations or options for the board to consider. I'd like to throw in that we should maybe have legal take a look at our MOU. Do we have I guess budgetary items available for that?
Through the chair. So our legal budget is $1,200, I believe, Judy. And we have reached out to 2 legal firms just to ask, you know, what kind of cost we'd even be looking at. And their comment was that would get us maybe 2 hours of a junior consultant within a firm. And that we're looking to do a fulsome review of the agreement. A legal review would be closer to 10,000. But they would be able to provide a better, call it estimate of that if we understood exactly what we wanted. So we're all on the same page. I delayed doing any further research on that because of the request for a review of the agreement by a third party. I don't know if that would get caught in there, so I just wanted to be clear on what I'm being asked to do and where we'll find the money to do that.
Okay, so questions, comments, Danielle?
So question to Barry. So is the issue, because you brought forth that there's, more in the governance, does it speak to the terms of payment? So my question is, if that's the issue, are we expecting Tay to pay this year? They just don't want to pay on time, which is an issue in itself. Or is Tay just not paying?
Well, Taste has committed to what our annual increase is, correct? Or not our annual. We have turned around, taken whatever our percentage of the overall municipal budget and have applied it to the 7%. That's all you're getting this year.
Okay, so
So that becomes arrears because we're 8,000 short. So when you do your budget next year, you're still starting at that other, depending on what percentage that comes back in at the municipal level, which we would probably start catching up. That's how I see from the way we're going.
Further clarity than that. So you're committing that Tay, if you guys did a 7% increase municipally next year and we did 2%, that you would fund 7%?
So we would end up catching up to you.
Is that part of the resolution that council?
We haven't passed that because we're still waiting. Turned around and sent out the request to the partners to relook at the funding formula and the letter of agreement. So that'll be addressed later on. But basically, as far as treasuries, the treasury part goes, and just to back up, there's nothing within the policies that I've seen in Severn South. Policies that turn around and say, this is how you're applying.
So some of the challenges that I see with that is we have an organization with staff and we need to set a budget and a plan every year. And we get the budget request from all of our partners in advance of our partners setting their own budgets. So it becomes very challenging, in my opinion, to speculate what Penetanguishene, Tay, Oro-Medonte is going to budget for so that we're able to continue operation. So,
And the way we did it this year. Perfect. We hadn't done that prior. You hadn't reached out to the partners. The partners are the ones that have to agree to the budget. We had done the preliminary. And that's the way it had gone. We had never done it, with each of the members here, so it's back to their council to get approval for the 2 point originally, it was 2.68%. 2 point together. So it's up to those members to put it forth to their councils, whether they're in agreement or whatever. So based on the 2.6, it's what our council turned out. We don't have an exception. Prior years, you're up into 10-15%. That was never discussed at the table until municipal budget comes.
okay. Yeah, sorry, Julie.
Through the chair, if I could just provide a point of clarity, under the service board letter of agreement, it does state under 4.2, each municipality agrees to pay its share of the annual budget of the SSEA in accordance with the funding formula for each year as approved by the SSEA board.
You're correct.
So that is in the agreement. So it does speak to payment
But
based on.
historic. Then when it becomes a.
Okay, we'll talk through the chair, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, so right now we have a recommendation on the floor to bring back options for our next meeting, October 26th. Did anyone want to add anything more to that resolution? October 24th, my apologies. Yeah, Brian, comment?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm just wondering, will there be a time where our CAOs or our staff can communicate with you about this exact topic before the meeting date? Is there a cutoff where the correspondence should take place before our next meeting? I don't want to get into our next meeting and have half the information from our staff and be back in the same situation at our next meeting. So 2 weeks previous would be,
2 weeks previous, I think, is a generous timeline, even if we got. Full 7 days kind of thing, I think would be acceptable, not?
Thank you. So can I just clarify, you mean 4 options?
yes,
Absolutely, yeah.
okay, great,
And I will reach out to all of your CIOs.
good, because as you know, I think, as you know, we're discussing a similar approach, not for this year's budget, but maybe for next year's, and we just want to know. I think a couple of our councillors would like clarity, and I think this is going to provide it to them. When the options come out, we'll get comment from staff, and then it'll be brought forward to council in the form of a resolution for next year's budget. So that's great, appreciate it. Thank you.
So our recommendation will read, you've got some language from it there, Alice. Be it resolved, staff report number 2824 SSEA regarding notice of SSEA budget short payment be received for information. And further that the board directs staff to bring back options for next steps at the October 24th meeting. Moved by Brian, seconded by Bonita. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. That's our financial section. Everyone cool? I mean, we've only been going for 35 minutes. Never mind. Seems over. We're on to 8.1 staff report.
Correspondence up and reread.
Oh, we're gonna, yes. So we're gonna go to. So that's 10-1. So we are gonna bring the Tate Township letter up with that motion with the Tate Township letter dated April 24th, 2024 regarding municipal budget request follow-up. Is there anything we're just receiving?
Yeah, we're just receiving.
Okay, moved by Danielle, seconded by Lori. That Township of Tate letter dated April 24th, 2024 regarding municipal budget request follow-up be received for information. All those in favor? That is carried.
And let's do it the same. They're not new.
Come back.
No, like they can just, they don't need a discussion. We've already discussed them.
10-2
And 3.
okay, we'll come back. We're on 8.1 now. This is past.
And 11. So in correspondence,
You want to keep going through correspondence?
so that we can. Sorry, just if I could clarify, Mr. Chair, one of the reasons we rejigged we were requested to rejig the agenda for today, because that was our understanding people were leaving. We wanted to make sure that those who were leaving for a golf tournament were able to
All right.
be here for what we felt was, important discussion around the agreement. So that's why there's a bit of confusion about the agenda.
Who's golf tournament?
Midland.
how come I didn't get an invite?
I'm gonna sleep.
And I do apologize, I said to Julie, we were originally told it was 11:00,
Right.
1:30, so
Oh, so we're okay.
I'm,
Well, we'll carry on. I mean, some people may need to go. We'll get through this portion. So we'll catch up then. Township of Tate letter dated May 29th regarding budget request 2024 motion. The motion reads that the Township of Tate letter dated May 29th, read budget request 2024 be received for information. Moved by Roberta, seconded by Mark. All those in favor? It's carried. Item 10.3, Township of Tate letter dated May 29th regarding requests to extend financial and human resource services. Motion reads Township of Tate letter dated May 29th, 2024, request to extend financial and human resource services be received for information. Moved by Bonita, seconded by Barry. All those in favor? That's carried. 10-4, Township of Severn letter dated June 13th, 2024, and correspondence regarding Township of Tay requests for support and the Township of Severn's related resolution. The recommendation reads the Township of Severn related letter dated June 13th, 2024, and correspondence regarding Township of Tay request for support and the Township of Severn's related resolution be received for information. Moved by Mark, seconded by Lori. Mark, did you have any comments to this?
I'm just wondering, how do we proceed with our request to get an audit done, I guess?
Renegotiation of. Julie, is it,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So that's an excellent question. So the way we had structured this was that we would go through the correspondence. And then at the Georgian Bay response that also requested a third party that we would,
open the floor for discussion?
if that makes sense. And we've received more correspondence since then, but if there's a better way, if you just want to receive both and then discuss, that would probably make sense too.
Let's do that. So Mark, given that there are 4 municipalities that have supported the Severn letter. We'll just, we'll keep it germane to the discussion after we receive them for information. All those in favor? Carried. Similar motion. On 10-5, Township of Georgian Bay letter, July 17th, regarding Tate Township request for support and the Township of Georgian Bay related resolution. Resolve the Township of Georgian Bay letter dated July 17th, regarding Township of Tay request for support and the Township of Georgian Bay's related resolution be received for information. Moved by Roberta, seconded by Brian. All those in favor? That's carried. Might as well capture this one too, because it's here. There is an on desk that everyone has, similar support letter from the Township of Tiny to that of Severn Sounds. So we will receive that for information as well. Moved by Brian, seconded by Lori. All those in favor? And now, why don't we open the floor, since Severn's was the first one listed on here. Next, I'll open it up to you, sir.
Okay, so I guess if this is a Judy question, like, is it like a forensic audit to see if the numbers make sense? Is that what I'm getting at? And who would be the expert in that field? Like, who do you go to?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that we're gonna have lots of questions about this. Like, before we get into the details, let's discuss the support for this at the table as well, because we need that direction from the board as well. We've had, just to lay it out there for everybody, we've had initially a request from Tay Township to look at the existing MOU. What it is, what it means. Tay specifically mentioned the funding formula as of interest to them. I know that there was some discussion about a la carte services versus watershed wide services. There's a myriad of I guess ideas and options that are at all of our disposal. We have had this existing MOU for, tell me how long, really 20 years? So always good to, I guess, in my opinion, look at, revisit, see how we can make better. So that I don't have an issue in that regard. So there may be differing opinions at the table. So why don't we start going around? Is this something that we, as the board, is, even though I know this is gonna be contrary to what some of you want to hear, when we are here, we are members of the board. You don't have to vote the same way that your municipality voted, so let's have that discussion first. Danielle, Brian, Bonita,
So I'm certainly not opposed to looking at it. I think it's good to relook at these agreements. My question would be, do we have an estimated cost? Because I'm assuming that this, well, there's gonna be a cost attached to it. So if we have an estimated cost, or if we don't, I think we would need that first. And then I think we would need members at this table to confirm that they are willing to pay that cost before moving forward with it, whether, regardless of whether they like the outcome of it or not, because I don't want to be in the same position where we're fighting over how much money we think our municipality should pay. We spend money to review an MOU, and then municipalities come back and say, well, I don't want to pay for that.
fair comments, carry on the discussion, Brian?
Yeah, through you, Chair. I think most of the board is aware that Georgian Bay Township supports the review. I've had extensive meetings. As most of you know, this was brought before our council and it was approved by council. And part of it was deferred. I think what our township is concerned about is the relationship based on population and households. And I think that's a sticking concern with us. That Georgian Bay Township has basically 3% of the households within our encatchment area. Yet the budget allotted amount to Georgian Bay Township doesn't reflect that 3% population. And that's a concern of two of our council members. We're dealing with it internally, but it'll be part of the report that we send to the board here, that we would like. We have a couple of tables that we've drafted up that shows what some of our councils feel is an injustice in the way the funding formula works, and that we are overpaying for the services that we're receiving. Now, this isn't council's statement. I think we all, or most, watched the Zoom meeting of our council meeting. But it's a sticky concern, and I think the review will probably, or the audit, as they want to call it, will probably explain a lot to our council members, so I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you. Did I see your hand, Bonita?
Sure, I can certainly speak next. So you will be getting a letter from the town of Penetanguishene, once it's ratified this week. So similarly, the council has talked about supporting a review. And again, if this MOU has been in existence for 20 years, I think it's a no-brainer. We have to review it. I mean, we can't continue to function the way it was 20 years ago because realities have changed so much. That being said, SSEA offers environmental services and we're all connected. No matter which way you look at it, we're all connected. So, you know, we have some municipalities that certainly have a higher household count or whatever you want to say. But that being said, by getting together and trying to get the services all under one umbrella, the smaller people will, the smaller municipalities will benefit. It may cost them a little more than they would, than they maybe feel they should. But ultimately, if they were on their own, they'd be paying more than that. So I think we really need to think about what it is that we're trying to do, not just for municipalities, but for the area we live in. And again, we're all connected. So I hope that when we do this review, which of course I'm in full support of personally, I think we need to try to widen our lens to realize that it goes beyond our municipalities. It goes into what we live in and where we live in, and we want to continue to make that the gem that it is. So some people will pay more, yes, and I think the folks at the bottom, if they were independent, would pay more if they left. So hopefully, as a group here, we can hopefully feel the same way and then impart that around our council tables. So that's my piece, definitely in favor of the review. And I think as far as funding, what I think we need to do is just make this a separate item. whatever, I'm just gonna put a number out there, each municipality gives $10,000 and that's it. It's a separate item. It's not built into the budget. It's a separate commitment so that there's no mixing up with who, what, where, and I think at this point, it's of a benefit for all of us equally. I don't think that it should be based on assessment. This is, I think, an equal commitment for the environment in our area. And so I think it has to be a separate item, separate entity altogether. And then once that's hashed out, and I'm convinced that it will be because there's experts in this field who do this all the time. Once it's hashed out, then we can move forward, we can commit, and we get all on the same page. So there's none of this and I understand there's pressures around council tables. I understand that. And there's pressures from our people. It's the environment. Much like healthcare, much like schools, it's a bigger thing than just our little municipality. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's, Mark, you're in for the.
Yes, I agree with the speaker before there, that if we come up with an understanding and hopefully all the members here can agree to it, and whatever the budget is, you divide it by 8. But that's open to, if we can get an understanding by our committee here today, and then have it a separate budget item. And I agree, it's, we're all in it together, and we support Severn Sound 100%.
Thank you, Lori.
I echo a lot of the same comments. I know that our council is in favor of a review. And I am as well, seeing that the MOU is 20 years old, and just some of the discussion earlier on, we can see that from a technical standpoint, it's probably time to review that and the legality and all of those governance pieces as well. And so I would be in support of that, although I will tell you that Oro-Medonte is very much in support of the SSEA. I think what we're talking about here, and I know that when we did the strategic planning pieces, I don't know that we do a great job at communicating, and Julie, you and I have talked about this, just what the value is. And, there's going to be different opinions on what the value is that we bring to the table in the municipality. I'm of the same opinion. We all share the same watersheds, and we all, Township and Georgian may have a smaller population, but look at the amount of water that the properties there are depending on, and the environmental impact of what's happening in Georgian Bay specifically. So, I have a hard time with measuring through households. And then I think the last piece is there's questions from my council around duplication of services with the other, with MUCA and those. So I think, again, clarity in communication, if this can help, if a review can help on that piece, I think that's important to build that in.
Just capturing clarification of services
Yeah.
between CAs.
Yeah.
I know
I think that's
that
really
you're
important.
not the only one with the
Yeah.
multiples. Roberta.
Yes, I agree as well. I think we need the review. And it has to be something that everybody can everybody could be satisfied. And it's gonna be difficult, I think. But I think it's really useful, and revisiting something 20 years ago, it was very different before. So yes, I'm agreeing with the review.
Okay. So quickly, I'll give my comments. I'm happy to undertake the review, but I think it's funny. I struggled with it at the beginning. It was kind of like, if an ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. And clearly, that's not the case. So we are we'll take the time and we'll undergo the process. I have lots of the same questions, costs, et cetera, just speaking generally to the household component of costing. I don't think that's something that I could support. Just go back to a discussion we had at the county. The cities are growing exponentially and their costs, proportions of garbage collection have risen, obviously. And they wanted to spread it out over all of municipalities as a household cost. And the impact to, say, the town of Midland to capture the costs of the city of Bradford, just, it's not the same. And at the end of the day, that program benefits everybody. You're not removing garbage. It's gonna end up in ditches and it's gonna negatively impact other people. So I see this as the same thing. And I could also argue that our urban centers like Penetanguishene, Midland are also funding paramedic services in Georgian Bay Township. Actually, you guys are actually not an example of that because you're a different district. But they would be funding.
You are correct.
Yeah, they'd be funding tiny townships, paramedic services to a certain extent as well. It's just part of the system we're in. So the household argument to me, I don't think I can support. So I guess based on that discussion, we have, sorry, Barry, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just flip in here and listening to all, seeing these particular letters, just to back up to what Tate Township turned around and orchestrated. There's two things. What we suggested to the partners through the municipal, that's how you have to start the discussion. Because the partners all have to be on board, or 50%. In our case, we said 2/3, because within the MOU that you mentioned is 2/3. So that's why we sent the letter out to the partners to see whether or not there is an agreement in there. So the one is the funding formula. We feel not only Tate, but Georgian Bay has made comments, Midland has made comments that we felt the funding formula should be changed. We haven't brought this back to the table because we're still waiting for correspondence back from the partners. Once that's done, then by all means, Tate Township will probably be sending a letter to SSEA. So saying that the other covered, and that's the letter of agreement. All we're saying is it needs to be updated. That can be done in-house as far as we're not asking to rewrite this whole thing. Nothing within Tate has turned around and said Severn Sound's not doing a bad job here. I think we're a good minute, no disrespect to Severn. Severn got off on tangents, talking about services that are being provided and how great they are and everything else. We never had a problem. We're just saying, look at the funding formula, update the letter agreement. Because we don't have sustainability in the letter agreement, we don't have the invasive species in the program in it. So that's all we're saying. We can further, we just had a discussion about treasury. There's nothing within the governance. There's nothing in the governance to turn around and pick everything. So those are the two items. As to Severn Sound, I don't support it. I'm not supporting a third party. As far as I'm concerned, the funding formula, you have 8 treasurers. We just got a report back at our last one that turned around outlaid. I think there was 5 different programs for assessments. That seems pretty simple. You can have a subcommittee to look at the letter of agreement. So that's where we're at. So everybody is supporting Severn. So I would suggest they have to go to the partners first. That's how I understand it through the municipal act.
So this is the partners. We operate as a board that, and we have members from all of our municipalities. And
so that's not to get into, so that's your interpretation from your municipal act. We have legal opinion, and that's kind of where we're at. So.
Let's, so based on that discussion, let's open it up. I saw Brian's hand first.
Yeah, if just on a second round here, the Township of Georgian Bay has done some pretty extensive environmental studies, and we receive most of our water through the Muskoka watershed, not through the Severn watershed. And then through scientific investigation through Dr. Pat Fraser, McMaster University and some other organizations. They say that we receive about 1% of our water in Georgian Bay Township from the watershed in Simcoe County, or the Severn Sound watershed. So some of the councillors are looking at this and saying, we need a review from SSEA to show the value. I think it would be crucial here, as we've seen with Tay Township with the shortfall, perhaps there should be a mention that their portion of the review could be funded by reserves. Because I think it's important that the review gets done. And I don't want to see townships say, look, we're in a shortfall. We didn't budget for this, so we're not going to support the review. But if it can come out of the reserve funds that each township or city or town has, I think it'd be more palatable. So just a recommendation. But I'm having a hard sell at my council. I think we have the majority of the council on board. But to be very clear, there is a faction of our council that feels that the SSEA is not our future, that they want to transition more to the Muskoka watershed, more to McMaster University, and concentrate on specific areas within our township for strictly water quality testing and nothing. So just so you know where we stand on it, and I think it's important that everybody knows where we stand on it. I think the review is going to flush out a lot of the concerns of our council. And I support it 100%, but I think you've got to add that in, that if a township is not willing to support it financially, that it can come out of the reserve funds.
Okay. So I guess there's a tie up on costs here. It sounds like we're all on favor with the review. Some people are interested in separating a third party costing, which I think would be the one that I would support. As much as I appreciate your confidence in staff and this board, I feel like that would be a very grinding exercise. So having someone that is non-biased come in, take a look at, that would be my personal preference. I don't know what something like that would cost. So maybe today's discussion, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, would be
The one I just gave you. Okay.
read this recommendation that was drafted. Be it resolved, a review of the SSEA Joint Municipal Service Board Agreement and funding formula established in 2009 would be prudent. And further that this review be done by an independent outside agency or entity, and further that the board directs staff to solicit quotes from qualified outside agencies or entities to conduct a comprehensive review of the SSEA Joint Municipal Service Board Agreement, fee structure and funding formula. Provide the board with a recommendation, including the proposed scope of work and costs for engaging an outside agency or entity to perform this review. And that would come back before we obviously hit play. So, Barry.
So the question becomes, that's what you just read, is generally what Tay Township's looking for. But you're not addressing Severn's concern or Georgian Bay's concern.
So I think that we would be addressing those. We're looking at the SSEA Joint Municipal Service Agreement. So the agreement that talks about, it's the MOU. So it'll talk about the services that are offered.
So what terms of reference are you looking for within the MOU or the letter of agreement? Are you looking at updating services or?
No, what we would be looking, so this, if we're gonna do this, this is not gonna be someone coming in and being like, this is what we think. This would be someone coming in, engaging the municipalities, engaging this board. And working, we'd have to be working as a partnership still, to give them information. Come back with a draft recommendation that we can approve, deny, alter, just like a strategic plan. Or an OP or a zoning bylaw. It's not a planner coming in and being like, this is what you must do. Here's the recommendation. And council, this board would have that opportunity to change, amend once it came back. That's what I foresee for this piece. True.
Through the chair. So personally, I believe in the resolution to speak to proposed scope of work. When it comes back, if there's something in the scope of work that you as a board go, no, we don't want to review that. You could have the discussion at that point, because this is the step we take to figure out what this would even cost and who we would even look to do the work. So there would be another opportunity to say, no, take that out of the scope. We, as a board, we don't want you or whoever gets hired, we don't want them doing that. So if you didn't want to do a service review, for example, and it was in there, you could say, take the service review out.
Okay, so Lex, this is, why don't we take 5 minutes? We'll leave this on the floor. And I'll ask Lex, can you post this on the screen so everybody can see it, how it reads? This is a pretty big item. We can take a second.
The motion.
Yeah. You'll have to. Yeah, we're gonna take a 10-minute recess, Mark. And someone will send you the wording, because you won't be able to see. Oh, you can just put your camera on and put it up on the camera, right?
Yes.
Moved by Bonita, second by Brian, meeting recess, this time is 10:37, we'll be back approximately 10:45, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Barry, second by Lori, the meeting reconvenes, it is 10:49, sorry, Mark, hope you weren't waiting for us too long.
We're good.
Okay. So we're back in the discussion, did we figure out a way to put the motion up on the?
Yeah.
On the screen?
I saw it briefly there. It was there.
Okay, so this is what we're voting on. Basically, we're giving staff the criteria to go out and find someone to do a review
And scope.
and scope the work, yes. And for those that are wondering what the pen says afterwards, it says and funding formula. Okay, we've seen it on the board. Last shot, questions, comments? Okay, now I need a mover and a seconder. Bonita, Brian. All those in favor? That is carried. Great work, everybody. I don't know, is it a good question?
I don't know. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I guess it's more a favor than a question. If maybe you could give your CAOs a heads up, because I will need some help in who we would even reach out to do this kind of work. Georgian Bay Township, I know you've got some consultants that you're doing some work with that are smaller consultants, and your CAO already told me he could give me a couple of names to reach out to, so. I guess what I'm saying is I don't actually need you to follow up because I've already spoken with your CAO. But if the rest of you could just give them a heads up, I'll be reaching out to say, who would we even look to do this kind of work to start the conversation?
Yeah, our CAO is away on a 2-week leave.
Okay.
To take care of his mother, so you probably won't hear him
Okay,
for a week or so.
thank you.
Point of order, you didn't put a time frame on it.
Sir, can't speak in thanks. Okay, Bonita?
Two things, can you send us a copy of the motion, please?
Absolutely.
And can we put in a timeline so that we can not have this go on for 3 years? Is that possible?
Sorry for clarity, timeline right now.
You want to decide on?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's fine. I'm all for the banter when it's cordial.
Well,
I can just tell with the
I
emotion.
think it would be fair to have a timeline because again,
For this to come back.
it's for us to even to get, for the project to get initiated, to get this started. Because I think We can't continue to function the way we are functioning. We're uncertain. We don't know who's in, we don't know who's out, we don't know who's paying, who's not paying. We can't live like that. And it's environmental services, it's our climate, it's our water, it's our soil, it's everything that matters. So it's a priority. So I think we need to set timelines so that we're not faced with this budget coming and pressure from the community and all the stuff. We need to put those things to bed. We need to solve this. So let's put a timeline as to when we can expect to start moving forward, getting quotes and getting this project.
So if I may, based on the discussion table, I would say that this is a priority and we will, I don't think that we can guarantee that we would have quotes and stuff back by the October 24th meeting. You don't know who's gonna respond to a request for proposal or information. But that would be my hope, that we would have a report at the next meeting with an update at the very least. And then one of the issues that we have at this table is our meeting schedules are quarterly. So if at the October 24th meeting, if we don't have something solid, we will not wait until our next quarter meeting. We will do a call on the chair to get action, okay? So with that, we voted on it, that's good. Back to here. All right. Back to our regularly scheduled meeting. We're moving into item 8.1, staff report 2924 SSEA past and upcoming events. Were there any questions or comments from our members? Seeing none, moved by Brian, seconded by Danielle. That staff report 2924 SSEA regarding SSEA past and upcoming events be received for information. All those in favor? That is carried. 8.2 staff report 3024 grant application update. You want to highlight?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to highlight that staff have really need to be commended on the amount of work they've done so far already in 2024. We're already at 206,000 unaudited, but in external funds that they've been able to leverage for project work. So a big kudos to the team in doing that work.
Okay, thank you. Both yourself and staff, that is a large number, and I'd like to see it for, that's about a halfway mark when the report was done. So we're gonna get like a $500,000, is what you're saying?
Like, maybe.
Moved by Brian, seconded by Roberta. That staff report number 3024 SSEA regarding grant application update be received for information. All those in favor? That is carried. 8.3 drinking water source protection update. Melissa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So 2 quick updates to bring to you. So you do have, although it's dated July, staff report in front of you. So 2 updates. The first one is on the Source Protection Authority side of things and the drinking water source protection agreement. Unfortunately, there is no news to share. We are still without a signed agreement as of today. So there has been ongoing negotiations with the province. They have essentially, when we first started this process this year, they said, think big. They expanded our program areas. They said, we have some extra funding, think big. And we basically whittled back to where we always are. So kind of all for nothing. Where we are sitting though, so Lake Simcoe is the lead source protection authority in our area. They have signed the draft agreement and it is now back to the province for them for final review and their signature. Once they sign, then agreements and MOUs with Lake Simcoe and ourselves can be put into place. So we are working behind the scenes to get that done so that as soon as the signature comes from the province, we can just quickly sign and we're back on track. But as of this morning, we do not have a signed agreement. So this is the latest we have ever been. So although it seems weird that the staff report is July, and it's still basically the same approach. Second update is from Richmond official side of things. So good news to share. So we did have, according to source protection plan policies, a July 1st deadline to complete all existing risk management plans. That was a large undertaking. We had a few extensions from the province to get those done, but we completed them all, so that's great news. But I'd like to caveat that with, that does not mean that the risk management services are no longer needed. So yes, we met the July 1st deadline, but all of those risk management plans will need to be inspected. What I foresee is annually over the next little while. Any new development applications coming in also still need to continue to be reviewed. And additional risk management plans and or prohibitions will be required with things like changes to water systems. So Crikehurst and Oro-Medonte, for example, that was approved earlier this year. There's a few risk management plans required with that change. The province is looking to make changes to circumstances, which will bring in a lot of more risk management plans. So just a reminder, great news, we met that deadline, but it's not ending. So just keep that in mind.
Does it ever end?
Yeah. I guess maybe just a quick, oh, sorry. I see a question on your side.
Right.
Through you, Chair, thanks very much for the report. I have a question that may be unrelated, but source water protection is a big concern in Georgian Bay Township. And through the OLT, we just had to grant a zoning amendment to allow a quarry granite crushing right next to your source water protection area in Georgian Bay, on the Georgian Bay side. So with the prevailing northwest winds, this granite dust, which is very toxic and has all kinds of bad issues, is going to be blown right over that water area where you collect your drinking water from. I need to reach out to somebody to make sure that the mitigation processes through the OLT agreement are in place so that this does not happen and we don't have contaminated water. So who do I reach out to bring these points so that perhaps SSEA could get involved through source water protection and mediation, and certainly go a long ways to show our council how SSEA is important. So I would like to initiate the process by sending off a letter to someone and get a response from someone. Maybe.
Thank you for the share. I don't know if I can speak to that today, so what I would request, if that's okay, is can we take this offline? So can we have a discussion probably between Julie, myself and yourself, just to get a better sense of what is happening and just to better see if we can assist or not. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to take that.
Yep, I certainly will. And if I could get your contact information before we leave today, that would be great. Or if it's available on the.
So it's, sorry, through, Mr. Chair, if you can go through Julie on that and then we can work. That's
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So I just have one more quick one.
Sure.
Sorry. I just wanted to remind everyone around this table, whether, so risk management officials, everybody at this table requires one. So again, just another reminder that July 1st deadline was completed, but you still require a risk management official within your municipalities.
Sorry.
Well,
Which, for everybody except one municipality is you, Melissa?
That's correct.
Excuse me, through the chair, is ours not through the district of Muskoka?
Thank you for your, Mr. Chair. No, so the district of Muskoka, it's their water system, so they pay the bill for it, but it's me. So I, yeah.
That's simple.
Yeah. So I'm sort of, it's very, yes, there's risk management official by law today and at the district level because of who has jurisdiction over the water system. But the planning and some other factors all funnel through different channels, but it all funnels back through to.
Okay, great.
Okay. Moved by Lori, seconded by Barry. That staff report number 3124, SSEA regarding an update on SSEA drinking water source protection activities during Q2 of 2024 be received for information. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Melissa. Staff report 3224, SSEA invasive species program update. Anything you wanted to highlight, or we just want to ask?
Thank you through the chair. I'm not going to highlight out of the report, just you may have seen in the media, we were very successful in receiving funding through the Invasive Species Council, which was ultimately through the province, and we will be engaging with your municipalities because it is to do roadside frag work specifically. And we did have a small amount of money last year where our staff person managed to map most of your municipalities for frag. So we will be moving into, this is action-based money, so we'll be doing planning on doing the actual removals on your roadsides. Thank you.
Is roadsides, sorry, I see a hand, I should let you go first.
Through you, Chair, is this going to be a continual cutting instead of a herbicide?
We don't know at this time.
Okay, I know in our township, the province eradicates Phragmites with herbicides, and we're against that. We found that a continual cutting year after year would stymie the growth of Phragmites and eradicate it, so that would be an important issue to us, being the environment is our number one concern. It's important to us.
I was just gonna say, all of the road allowances in Tiny that lead to the beaches, so basically, are they roadsides?
I would have to ask, or I would suspect we did not survey those, but I don't know for sure. I will ask our IS person.
It's roadside.
Yeah.
I don't assume, but it's still roadside.
Okay, the motion moved by Barry, seconded by Roberta. Staff report number 3224 SSEA regarding invasive species program update you received for information. All those in favor? That is carried. 8.5, this is staff report 3324 restore the shore project update. Julie.
Through the chair, thank you. So the Restore the Shore project, I know Georgian Bay, you're familiar with a similar project that's been previous to us in Muskoka, so we modeled ourselves a bit after the Muskoka project. And this is where we work with landowners who have shoreline. So shoreline can be lake, it can be a river, it can be a wetland, it can be anything considered shoreline. And we do a site visit, and we're working also with I think it's Watersheds Canada that has, you basically get like a naturalized landscape plan for your shoreline. It is cost shared with the landowner, so it's new for us to do that. The landowner pays a small amount of the cost, and then they get a kit, which includes site visits, it includes plants, help with the plants, where to put the plants and all of that. So we were this was a pilot. We had a small amount of money to do this. We were oversubscribed, and which is great. We've actually had some emails that suggest people are annoyed that they didn't get to be involved. So I think that's a positive, because that means there's definitely an interest. We targeted 5 and we implemented 7, so we managed to stretch the money we had. We've met all the performance criteria. I will probably be bringing back a recommendation at some point that we try to start moving this into a more permanent project moving forward, because it's certainly on some of our inland lakes. I think for us to be able to keep the momentum going, and now that people know about it, and it should be partially self-sustaining, because people do have to pay a portion of the cost of us being out there. But it's great to have folks back doing stewardship, actually helping individuals on their own property. Thank you.
Questions, comments, Mark and Brian?
Just through the chair to Julia, I'm on the Cowater Mill board, and we were working with your staff on restoring the shore of the Cowater River through our property. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Brian?
Yeah, thank you. And through your chair, to give you some sort of scope of how this program works, 6 Mile Lake is quite large lake in our area. 698 homes were visited with shoreline protection. Basically, for years and years, we've been cutting it all down, planting nice grass. The geese come up and eat it. And through education, I would say 70% of the properties on 6 Mile Lake have engaged in a replanting program. And the value from shore water runoff, the roots of these plants picking up everything and not getting into the lake, has really struck a chord with the new generation, especially the kids of the cottage owners. They're going, Mom, Dad, you got to get on board with this stuff. It's an education process. It's working. And I think it's fantastic that SSEA is getting involved.
Moved by Danielle, seconded by Bonita. Sorry, I haven't used Mark, seconded by Mark. That staff report Oh, boy, I lost it. 33 SSEA regarding Restore the Shore project update be received for information. All those in favor? That's carried. We're getting creative with our acronyms, I see. 8.6, staff report 3424 SSEA, the Severn Sound Engagement and Education, also known as SEED, and Biodiversity Enhancement and Education Parks, Parks project update. Julie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, this was an externally funded project. That working specifically with schools and municipal properties and your municipalities, obviously, to do naturalizations. So some of you know we did that last year as well under a different project. This was an extension of the success of that project. And so we have a person on staff who we have also through another external source of funding who's developing site-specific naturalization and enhancement plans in consultation with your municipalities or with school boards on specific properties. So again, a project that would be great if it wasn't just one-off funding every year, that we could get some more momentum going, but certainly very successful at this point, and another action-based project to make sure we're doing good things on the ground.
Questions, comments? Is that a, oh, silence card? Moved by Mark, seconded by Bonita. That's staff report number 3424 SSEA regarding Severn Sound engagement and education and biodiversity enhancement and education parks project updates be received for information. All those in favor? That's carried. 8.7, 3524, building tree capacity in the Severn Sound watershed project update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the only thing I'm going to update here, again, many of you helped us out, which is fantastic. This year we had 209 participants who ordered and planted 9,670 native trees and shrub seedlings, which is fantastic. But the bigger news, which the announcement is sitting on my desk, so I am the holdup at this point, but it will be going out, is that we have now hit the over 400,000 native tree and shrub seedlings in the Severn Sound watershed from the beginning of the program. So that's a huge milestone. And we are working on and have a carbon calculation tool that our sustainability person has been asking everybody he can find, because there's a number of different ways of estimating carbon. And right now the estimate is that those planting numbers I just gave you were between 30,000 and 31,000 metric tons of CO2 sequestered through those trees. So that's an ongoing sequestering by those trees. And there will be a public announcement, but we certainly could bring the tree experts here from our team to discuss that more if people are interested moving forward. But this is fantastic news that we've hit those milestones.
Thank you for that update. And I actually think that'd be a great idea for them to be in at a meeting for capture it on our live recordings and archive it on our website for all to see. Seeing no hands, the recommendation is staff report 3524 regarding building tree planting capacity and Severn Sound watershed project update be received for information. All those in favor? That's carried. I said names, right? No, who wants to move the one we just passed? Lori and Barry. 8.8, staff report 3624, sustainable Severn Sound update.
Mr. Chair, so just a couple quick highlights. The Midland made an application to RTO 7 for a Go EV, which was successful for funding an EV charger at the Midland Town Dock. Staff have been appointed to the Township of Georgian-based Sustainability Community Advisory Group as a non-voting member, so thank you for that. And a reminder that our staff have been working with Enbridge, so unfortunately Georgian Bay Township, Enbridge is not there. So everybody else, our staff are working with your staff, but again, this year Enbridge has a $10,000 grant for your sustainability climate work. And so John will be working with your staff to make sure that you access that and that it's successful. So our big kudos to John. He fell across this last year and is making sure that we don't miss out on it ever. So that, again, that money could be used for either new work or against your sustainability cost, for SSEA. But that, sorry, that money comes directly to you, not to SSEA.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, moved by Danielle, seconded by Roberta. The staff report number 3624 regarding the sustainable Severn Sound update be received for information. All those in favor? That's carried. 8.9, not great news.
It's on recorded.
3724 SSEA blue-green algae blooms in Severn Sound.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure, maybe our IT guy can learn to bleep. You probably have not missed the fact that this year has been yet another favorable year for blue-green algae blooms. We currently still have 3 active blooms on our inland lakes, being Bass Lake, Oro Lake, and Little Lake. Interestingly enough, Farlane has not had a bloom this year, even though last year was terrible for them. Again, I just want to emphasize our staff work very closely with Ministry of Environment and the Muskoka District Health Unit, so that we're being able to provide your municipalities with early warning. So we have equipment that we can tell early if it looks like a bloom, so that you've got a heads up. And we work closely helping do the sampling when ministry folks just can't get up here in time, so that we are helping keep people safe. And the reminder that staff wanted me to bring forward too is that the cyanotoxins that are in blue-green algae, which are harmful to people and animals, are present at all stages in a bloom, and particularly when the bloom dies, it releases those toxins. So that's why when you have a blue-green bloom, you can't boil your water and drink it, because that's just gonna help release toxins. So people do need to be mindful. We know that people get mad that they can't swim, but the reality is it's not safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Danielle.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I'm just wondering if the wording in the future could be a little bit different on a lot of these agenda items, and that we'll use 9.9, or I think you referred to it as 8.9, blue-green algae in Severn Sound. If we were to put in catchment area after the word Severn Sound, it looks like we're being excluded, being the Township of Georgian Bay. We have algae blooms in many of our lakes right now that we're dealing with through different agencies. But something like this basically says to the Township of Georgian Bay that you're not a part of this. This says Severn Sound. And I know we're a part of Severn Sound.
We feel like you're a part.
We are a part of Severn Sound, but I think the way our township perceives it, that this is concentrated down here, although we are a part of your encatchment area, we're not made reference to. So I think in the case of blue-green algae, we have a very serious problem in our township, but I don't think Severn Sound is involved. So we need to address that in some manner, that if we have a blue-green algae bloom on Gloucester Pool, which we have right now, Severn Sound can be involved, if Severn Sound Environmental can be involved, when right now.
Billy, you noted that?
Absolutely, thank you.
Danielle?
Okay, I just have kind of a question regarding the blue-green algae blooms. Obviously, Oro Lake is awful again this year. And a couple of the questions that I've received were that lake looks clear now, can we not swim? And I said no. Is that predominant? Like, you know, the lake can look like it's clear, and yet it is obviously still very dangerous.
Through the chair. Thank you, great question. So it can be, or it could be clear. So one of the challenges is the process by which the posting happens, which is through the ministry and the health unit, which has a delay in it. So often the posting could last longer than the bloom. The other thing is the bloom can move. So the bloom might be on the North Shore, for instance, by the boat launch, and not on the South Shore. but that doesn't mean that the toxin isn't traveling around as well. Yeah, they're pretty finicky little organisms, and caution is really the best for people. The other thing I just want to mention too is that, you know, this again is something that we use to say we need action, right? And so to Brian's point earlier, that's one of the things that other project is hoping to do, is then help start to do some action so that people on their properties can maybe reduce the potential inputs that will do those plumes. But we can certainly reach back out to the ministry and try to push the updates on those samples. Thank you.
I'm now curious too, when you're posting for the blue-green algae, is it different than when, say, the health unit posts beaches for swim advisories, that kind of stuff? Is it, what do they tell you?
Yeah, so the swim advisory postings are based on bacteria. And the health unit's doing that monitoring on a regular basis at swimming beaches or swimming spots. So some places are not monitored for that. And then the blue-green algae bloom, the Ministry of Environment does the sampling and the lab work. The health unit makes the decision on the posting, but the municipality does the posting. So the health unit will tell the municipality to put the signs up. So it's two different processes and they're different signs.
Okay.
Through you, and also I sit on the Health Services Board. And you have a representative from Simcoe County that sits on the board. We have a representative from Muskoka that sits on the board. It's brought back to the council at Muskoka, it's brought to the Health Services Committee. And at the Health Services Committee, then it's delegated down to the municipalities, of which beaches need to be posted in your area. So it's a little bit convoluted because there's different stages to get to the point where you put the signs up. And that creates problems in a township like ours because it's directed from Simcoe County up to Muskoka, through the Health Services Board, down to the municipality to posting. And there's a delay there that's very, very important. So streamlining of that system is something we've been working on at the District of Muskoka, and hopefully we'll get something done in that area.
Well, thanks for the update. Recommendation, staff report 3724 SSEA regarding updates on blue-green algae blooms in Severn Sound watershed be received for information. Moved by Brian, seconded by Danielle. All those in favor? That is carried. 810 Executive Director update, Q2 on table. Julie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The things I'll highlight, source water protection, you've already heard, there's done a lot of work trying to negotiate and trying to get that agreement moving. It consumes a fair bit of time for our staff and for myself. The departure of a senior staff person, that also created a fair bit of unexpected time in terms of trying to do job postings and recruitment and all of that, and we're very excited with the outcome on that. I just also wanted to highlight, I thought we had, once again, thank you Township of Severn for helping us lead the way, the permissions and approvals webinars. We had really good feedback on those. The last two we had were invasive species legislation and then working in water. Unfortunately, the working in water, both from Ministry of Natural Resources, working in water, and the ministry would not let us record it. So we weren't able to post, but it was, for those of you who were able to attend, I hope you found it as valuable as we did. It really clarified what you can and can't do around water. And again, those are really targeted towards you, your councils and your staff, so that staff are up to date on the most recent information as much as possible. And we've been approached by a group of folks on the Hog Creek who want to do some stewardship work. So we'll be bringing something forward, moving forward, just on some thoughts around programming as we move forward. So I spent a fair bit of time working with outside organizations or people within the watershed who have ideas and want to bring them forward, because that's my role, and staff are full. And I think I'll leave it with that.
Okay.
It's all in there.
Appreciate the update.
It feels old.
Yeah. Got another one coming.
I know.
Very.
Yeah, just one question. Julie, have we heard anything more from the Elmville groundwater study? What's going on there? You know?
Thank you, Barry. We have not.
Okay, thanks.
No, have you? No.
No. So I'm just wondering, I was curious whether or not they got their funding they're supposed to apply in April.
However, now that we have a new water scientist on board, I think maybe we could put her on it. And
To find out what's.
my guess is Elena will be more familiar with that kind of academic funding than the rest of us were, so
Yeah.
I'll follow up after this meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You explain.
Yeah, yes, I can.
Okay. Moved by, sorry, Lori?
No.
Oh. Moved by Mark, seconded by Lori. That, I changed pages. Executive Director Staff Report 3824 SSEA be received for information. All those in favor? That is carried. Announcements. So for those new at the table, this is where you have something you wanted to share. Your municipality's been undertaking that's relevant to the environment, sustainability, any of that kind of stuff. We shared. I mean, summertime is busy generally in a personal level, so. Okay, no one else. Oh, Brian's got one.
Township of Georgian Bay through Mayor Coetsier is having a honeybee festival, which is coming up. There is a dinner boat cruise, I guess you call it. That's gonna be going on Georgian Bay for a dinner. This is to help support the bee environment. I don't know if people around this table know, but the Georgian Bay Islands back in the 1800s were exclusively used for bees. And they were brought up from the Woodbridge area and I don't know what they call the beehive people, but they set up their hives on the Georgian Bay Islands, and that's where most of the honey and that came from back in the 1800s. So we celebrate that, we celebrate the environment, and if you want to get out and have a fun time, it's coming up. I'll send something to all the board members that maybe you could share.
Absolutely. Maybe bring some honey into the next meeting.
I always bring honey to the
Okay.
I have, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have one update, just that 2025 requests for budget deputations has started. So Midland, you were first in the door. And their request is they're looking for stuff by October 2025.
Okay. Well, that's good. We're basically there, right? Okay, seeing no other hands, we'll move on from our announcements. We completed our correspondence section. We have no closed session items. We had no business cited at the beginning. Did anyone? I'm fine with adding stuff. Anyone had anything they wanted to talk about? Seeing none. Oh, where? Who?
Can I just make a comment? Maybe I should have done the announcements, but it's my first time being here. I was I'm fortunate enough to be alternate for my colleague Suzanne Marchand. When I got this agenda, I started reading it, and by the time I finished, I was exhausted. I'm like, oh my goodness. There's no question in my mind that we're getting a money's worth. As municipalities, the town of Penetanguishene, and I think as a group, I have no doubt in my mind that we're getting our money's worth. And so when we're talking about these agreements and all this good stuff, I hope that as a group, we can, we're either in this business or we're not. And if we're in this business, we gotta pay for it. We've got to pay for what we get. And I think we're getting a steal. We're getting our money's worth. And I think we're also getting blood, sweat, and tears from a lot of the employees who wouldn't be doing this if they weren't super committed to environment, because I wouldn't be putting up with this meeting. There's no way as an employee. So I think as a group and as municipalities, we need to start thinking, are we in this business of environment or are we not? And if we're in, then through this independent study, I think we really need to be honest with our people, honest with our groups. We need to be realistic in what needs to be done and what can be done. And I also think we need to invest. Cause you get what you pay for. And, environment, of course, we need to be responsible, we need to be transparent, we need to be sure that, our money's invested in the right thing. And that's our responsibility here around the table. We need to be sure of that, but we also need to understand that the commitment is far beyond our borders, and it's far beyond even our area, and it's far beyond a lot of things, because without environment, we really are going to be in dire straits. So I hope to be around this table a little more often. But I really am very hopeful. I think that as a group, I think we're really going in the right direction. And I think as municipalities and as reps of our municipalities, we need to tell our story, and we don't hear enough of it at our council tables. We don't see this in-depth information, and I know it's there, but we just don't really look at it because we're consumed with this and that and the other thing, right? So I think we need to, as reps, we need to take a moment and really talk about this stuff at our council table. And maybe if they hear enough about it, they're gonna realize that we need to invest in, and we're definitely getting the money. So thank you.
And thank you for talking in the first meeting about them. Yeah, that's great. Once, twice. No, okay. We are moving into our adjournment in record time. Be it resolved, this meeting of the SSEA Board of Directors held on September 6th, 2024, adjourn at 11:28 to meet again on October 24th, 2024, or at the call of the chair. Moved by Barry, second by Laurie. All those in favor? That is carried.